Oh,
Welcome to Competitive Advantage. I can be really serious, Noah. Welcome to Competitive Advantage with Noah Badome and Colin Sherman. This week we will be discussing Warhammer 40k. No. Hi, Noah. How are you?
I'm good. I'm always a little put off by how different I look as a human in that picture where I won Storm.
I told you it didn't look like you, and
Every
you
time
were
I'm
and,
like,
and
that
you
guy.
didn't say anything, but it does not look like you, and that's part of why I put it in the picture. Here's a picture of Noah where he's not Noah. Is what I enjoy about that picture.
Want to see something that does look like me? This I got
Sure.
this for Christmas. Domo Funko Pop.
Oh, that does look like you.
He has a paintbrush and an easel. He's so cute.
Oh. I've never seen you with a. That's not an easel. That's a palette
Oh
or
yeah,
a.
palette. Yes. Sorry, I know words.
So I am getting terrible audio from you, and I don't know if it's my fault, but we think it might be
All
because my
right.
internet is having problems this morning. So hopefully everybody can hear me, and it's only me that can't, is having problems with Noah. That's the hope.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you fine. I'm just concerned about the parts of you that we're missing.
Oh, is it like a robot?
Rooms and Rhetoric can tell us. Do we both sound okay? Is one of us choppy? He will tell us. We can continue on. All right.
Hello. Looks
Yeah.
like a mimic that ate Noah and went to 40K tournament to eat more people.
Oh, that's funny. Okay, it's not too bad to be honest. Great. Welcome everybody to our weekly show where we talk about getting better as a competitive 40K player. Noah and I have both been doing the 40Ks, so it's a good week to join us because we're
Mhm.
not going to be BSing 40K. We actually spent time on it. I have a fairly big story and announcement to make that I'll make after we do Good, Bad, and Ugly. And then our big main story for the week is going to be giant stompy robots are giant and stompy.
That's
Um,
accurate statement.
Imperial Knights, it's a thing. Noah took it to a tournament. He did well at. He had a great time. So we're gonna have Noah talk about that experience and what he thinks of Imperial Knights. We're also going to talk about what the meta might look like for the Tacoma Open, which is the next big GW event. That'll be fun because I'm sure we're going to be wrong, but we're going to do our best. Yeah, that's what we're going to do this week. It's going to be great fun. So, Noah, what did you do for 40K this week? First of all, Noah got a job. Yay, Noah! I
Yeah,
think we talked
I
about
got
that.
that.
I think we
Yeah.
talked about that last time. But okay, what other than that, what 40K did you do?
Noah's employed. I'll mention something real quick. So I haven't had a job for like a full time all day job for like 3 months, and my job before that wasn't very challenging. Thanks, Rince Reddick. Job before that wasn't very challenging. This one is good and is challenging. And I sit down, at 8:30 so in the morning, and I'm there until 4 or 5. And I go back upstairs feeling like I was at a Warhammer tournament. Where like the brain is completely depleted and I'm a little bit like foggy, like I'm like almost like brain drunk. I feel that way after every day now. It's really nice, but it means I'm going to bed at like 10 now. uh, so I'm hobbying nights, and I this weekend I took chaos nights to a RTT to test it out, and we'll talk about that I think more. But that was super fun. Do you want me to talk about that now or later?
Later.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's it.
Uh, I was trying to go to a tournament. That was the thing that I wanted to do.
Mhm.
It became impossible, so I did not go. I was going to go then to the RTT, and you know what happened? My kids left to Texas to go see Biodad, and I had to take them to the airport at 2 o'clock in the morning. I had to leave my home at 2 o'clock in the morning to get them to the airport. the flight leaving at like 5 a.m. is a special torture for me. Because if it was any other time, I would either stay up later or get up early. But at this point, I basically had to go to sleep and wake up. So I went to sleep for a couple hours, woke up, drove for 4 hours, then went back to sleep for a few hours, then woke up and tried to go to an RTT. And when I woke up to try to go to the RTT, my body and my brain said, "You are stupid. You are old and you feel bad because you did not get good sleep. You should stay home." And I got really sick to my stomach, and so I stayed home.
I'm
But
sorry.
I told you guys, no, it's fine. I told you guys that I was going to try to go to a tournament site to talk about Eldar. Instead, I just played a ton of TTS games from the comfort of my own chair. So after Noah talks about Chaos Knights, I'll talk a little bit about Eldar. I think Eldar are in a much more interesting spot than I anticipated. I think that they have a pretty crazy skill floor. What's the one where if you don't play really well, they're bad? Is that
high skill floor is like, yeah, it's minimum height to ride this ride.
Right. The skill ceiling and the skill cap, all that stuff I think is very confusing because of how you can interpret it differently. But I think that there's a high requirement for skill on Eldar right now, if you want to do really well at tournament. I dig that sort of, mostly. So we'll talk about what that's like when we get there a little bit later. Okay, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and then Colin's big announcement, which is good, bad, and ugly. It's a hybrid. It's a meta hybrid that combines all three of the news of our news. Okay. So first of all, the bad is GW didn't give us anything this morning to talk about.
That was going to be my bad too.
This has been kind of a lame week for 40K news. I felt like.
I mean, we're getting the official Space Wolves Codex, which means we'll have them at the GW Open.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yep. So that got announced, and we got announced 2 cool characters for Black Templar, and that Black Templar coming out later this year.
Okay.
It's
that's
a cool.
Good. We don't have enough Marines. We need more Marines. There's not enough, so that's good.
Well, what we really needed is another kind of chaplain, which is what we got. It's a cool banner bearer and a new kind of baby chaplain.
I think that if they want to make more chaplain models, they might want to make them competitive at some point in 40K.
This one is. I can tell you it is right now. Because it gives its unit advance and charge. That's its thing.
Yeah, but it might be 200 points.
I mean, it's a Primaris dude on foot. It's like, I don't know any normal Primaris dudes on foot that are 200 points that aren't named characters. If it's 200 points, I'll wear a silly hat for 3 podcasts in a row.
I don't think it's going to be 200 points. I'm just making a point that points matter. I don't know that we would see as many of the detonation guy in the T-Suns list, the sorcerer or whatever. If he wasn't 70 points apiece, we might not see 3 of him in T-Suns lists.
That's true. 70 points was definitely a choice for that.
Yeah, right. It's like when the Codex when the Eldar first came out for 10th edition, and the Warwalkers were 55 points, and you could have them in units of 3. It's like, okay, you've made a bad decision, GW. This is not okay. Okay, so the good for 40K is I actually think I played against Death Guard, and I played against non-Mortarian Zanvil Death Guard, which I'll talk about. And while I felt that it was overpowered, I didn't feel like it was being impossible for me to deal with. So, and I having played the T-Suns game matchup a few times now, I don't think that's impossible for me to deal with either. I think those things are overtuned. I think that they're pushed and they're too powerful, but it didn't feel too powerful like Ynnari did when people first started playing it and no one was expecting it. It's like, on your turn, I'm going to do a whole bunch of stuff that you're not used to preparing for. It doesn't feel like it's gross in that way, right, Noah? Don't you think?
Yeah, it's like gross in the way that like GSE was, where like you felt like you were playing the game. Again, early GSE in the beginning of a 10th, you felt like you were playing the game, but it was inevitable you were going to lose, but you got to feel like you could participate.
Which is orcs a lot of the time when they're good too.
Yeah, that's true. Well, sometimes orcs just shoot you 9 million times and you die.
Yeah, but orcs often get one of the things Chuck talks about a lot, because he's been an orc player for like as long as Noah's been alive. I don't know. He's been an orc player for like 30 years.
As long as I've been alive, yes.
Yeah, so what Chuck has talked about is that if you want to win sportsmanship awards, take orcs. It's not about because it's just as much about you as it is about the experience you give people at the table. And we're not talking about Noah's Orcs, which would never get sportsmanship awards.
No.
But the sportsmanship award idea is that when you lose to orcs, you still get to kill like 70-80% of the army. That was Chuck's point, is that because you get to pick up models the whole time you're playing, you don't realize how bad the matchup actually is, and so you end up thinking that Chuck is a more fun opponent than necessarily he was. I think that's funny. Don't you know?
I do. I was waiting for you to be done because I want to make a point that I'm not a bad sportsman. I just play an army that is sometimes oppressive to play against.
Fair.
Because you're like not Noah when he plays orcs.
Yeah, he's never going to get a sportsmanship award for that. Okay.
Oh man.
So I actually kind of the good for me is that the meta isn't as skewed as I thought it was going to be, but this is just from my data. I did look at the Meta Monday report, and one of the things I want to talk about. Well, we'll talk about it the meta when we're talking about. I want to talk about Tau, but we'll talk about it when we're talking about the GW Open prep.
I haven't looked at the meta report, so that'll be good for information. That'll be cool for you to have.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that's interesting is that all of the T-Suns detachments were over 50% win rate.
I'm not surprised at all.
And it's like, I think it was all of them. Hold on, I have this open in another tab. So the Thousand Suns. Now there aren't a lot of like Hexwarp Thrallband was played by one dude, one person. Excuse me. Who went 4 and 5, so that's an 80% win rate for Hexwarp Thrallband. So that's kind of funny. All the other ones had at least, let's see, Warp Meld Pact had 17 games, 71% win rate. Warp Forged Cabal got 16 games, 69% win rate. And Grand Coven had 87 games with 53% win rate. So not a ton of data there, but it does say, what that data does say is that if you take T-Suns, you're going to win, right?
If you are a player, I think, because like I'm assuming most of the people who brought those, because it's a relatively small amount of data set. Most of the people who are playing that right now are people who are like, I would expect are kind of on the upper level of play, people like the top 50%, whatever. So I think like if you are a competent player who knows how to play, who taking the time to get the reps in with that list or that army, you're going to go beat people in the face.
Yeah, altogether they went 85 wins out of 153 games, which was a 56% win rate. 56% win rate is fine. The fact that all of the win rates for every detachment are above 50%, I think that's probably not okay.
That is a little good.
Yeah, Death Guard played 263 games, and again, some of these are very low data. Like Flyblown Host had one tournament where somebody went 3 and 5, 3 out of 3 and 2. Excuse me. So that's not interesting. But the 16 games the Taliban Summoners got 63%. Literally, no one has mentioned Taliban Summoners to me.
Yeah, I was of the opinion that was not a good detachment.
Yeah, but instead, it looks like 3 players took it, and they, as a group, went 63%. So that's pretty good. Mortarian's Hammer went 34 out of 60, so that's 57%.
That's
what I thought was, and so their detachments are Taliban Summoners 63, Flyborn 60, Mortarian's Hammer 57, Deathlord's Chosen 56, Contagion 54, and Virulent Victorium 51. Now, what's interesting to me about this is the lowest one in both T-Suns and Death Guard is the detachment that if you asked Art of War or Stat Check, they would say is going to be the most popular one. Certainly the Grand Coven is the main thing I'm hearing about for T-Suns. I've played 5 games with T-Suns, and 4 of them were against the Grand Coven.
Grand Coven, I think, is the highest damage output.
Yeah. Similar for Virulent Victorium, most of my friends that play Death Guard are talking about that. I've played against Mortarian's Hammer, and I've played against several games of Virulent Victorium. I'm going to keep saying it till I can say it easily.
I'm going to make like an assumption based on some conjecture about that.
Ooh, is that I like that.
Virulent Victorium and Grand Coven are both the highest damage output, as far as I understand, the highest damage output detachments in those 2 codexes. Virulent Victorium is the one who can get full hit and wound rerolls on critical 5s.
Mm-hmm.
And has a bunch of ways to do reroll number of shots and damage and all these things. So it's like really focused on hurting your opponent real bad. And Grand Coven is the same in terms of like raw power punch you. Those are both like what I would call like the horsepower detachments, right? And I think they're harder to play. I think it's harder to they're harder to play in terms of like you have less tricks, right? You have more power. And so I think you're going to see a lower win rate on some of those because it's going to be dragged down by people who don't have, let's say, the required capability or skill set to compensate for the lack of tricks. But when you put it in the hands of someone that, say, like, I don't know, Nick Donavati or something, who knows how to play that kind of army, they're just going to take people apart, right?
Yep.
Cass from Canada, I think he went 7-1 at Tacoma Open with Virulent Victorium 2 weekends ago. And he was, I think, the only Virulent Victorium that did that well. And
you meant Edmonton, right?
Edmonton, that's right, Edmonton. He was the only Virulent Victorium that did anywhere close that well. Yep. And he's been doing that well consistently. And I think that's because he's really good. And that detachment is fucking amazing in terms of raw punch you in the face power.
Yes. Okay. So I think that's great. And I think you're spot on. I'm going to add something to that.
Yes.
The detachments that everybody was told were the most powerful had massive numbers of people playing them compared to the other ones. That's because people listen and they follow. Like if you say, if you're Art of War and you spend a week saying that Virulent Victorium, and I don't know that they did, but if they did spend a week talking about Virulent Victorium, then a lot of people are going to play that because the place they listen to for competitive knowledge told them it's the best thing. And so that's part of why the echo chamber of the internet says this is the best thing, this is the best thing, this is the best thing. And it's why at the beginning of the Eldar, we saw all of this aspect host and war host data with no Ynnari, because everyone, including me, was pointing people at war host and aspect host. And so you'd see these tournament results where Ynnari would get like an 85% win rate off 15 games or whatever, and then you'd see 170 games of aspect host where it went 52%, and everybody was like, oh, Eldar's fine. So I think that there's also that, and we can call that the Space Marine problem if you want, because where that shows up the most is that Space Marines get nerfed less than other armies because their win rates are always lower, because Space Marines are almost everyone's first army.
And I want to reinforce you too, because I think a lot of time 40K players are math players. They want to play the thing with the best math.
Uh-huh.
I think seeing those, probably another reason is, I think one reason a lot of like streamer people say things are really good is because they're the best math, and then they compensate for lack of tricks with power with their own skill. Uh-huh. And then you have people flock to that, like you're saying, like, oh yeah, we're gonna play that.
Yeah, I saw John Lennon wreck somebody with it on Art of War. I'll be able to play it fine.
I saw a comment. This is about like Chaos Knights will probably have a similar thing, right? Because they're really, really good. A lot of people own Knights armies, and Knights are really cool and like, you know, aesthetically, right? If you're a nerd and you look at big zombie robots, you think, oh, that's nice. Most of the time. And I think so. Someone made a comment, said, I can't wait for the next 3 months to play against a bunch of mid-table Chaos Knights players. And I think that is 100% going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't like it when this often happens, where we have a meta buster where if you are what I'm going to do, I don't actually like putting, I don't normally put players in tiers, but if we say that like the Art of War guys are S tier, right? And we're A tier, and there's a big gap there, but let's say that we're A tier. It's possible that armies can come out where S tier and A tier will dominate them because they understand the game at a different level, and B tier, C tier, D tier, E tier, however far down you want to go, are all going to get wrecked by it. That's what Noah's saying. And it's not that you can't get better or that you can't learn it or whatever. It's none of that. I'm talking about in generalization. Take all of the players in 40K. The average player is not going to do well against some armies. That is often the problem with Knights. And that is a better criticism of Knights than my normal shtick about not liking them.
A good example of the type of army you're talking about is like GSE. GSE, you inherently have to play against differently than you normally play. You can't do the thing where like you screen out, you wait for the go turn, you neutralize their go turn, and then you come at them. That doesn't work against GSE. That loses you the game, right? Same with like Coterie the Conceited. You can't play a Coterie the Conceited the same way. You can't screen with little trash because you'll just feed them all their buffs. And I think armies that play slightly different than the accepted pattern of this is how you play good 40K are ones that people struggle to play against at all. Like, you know, as you were saying, medium pack players will struggle to play against.
Yeah, I think you're right. And that was the start of my 40K experience competitively is do well because of math, do poorly because you don't understand 40K. Play Ynnari at the time where it is so toxic for your opponent that a lot of people just didn't know what to do. And so I'd play games at a tournament, and let's say it's a 6-round tournament, I'd play 5 games against people that had no idea what to do against my army, and then I'd play the best player in the room and we'd have a real game. That's not good for 40K. So that's
you know
the thing.
Do, right?
What?
You know what to do when you hit that situation. I can tell you exactly what to do. This is the secret for everybody. Roll 6s.
Mm-hmm. That's all you got to do.
Or physically abuse your opponent. Don't actually do that.
Yeah, Chuck was teaching me how to play 40K when I was like 17. And I don't even remember what the question was, but the question was like, what if my opponent does this thing? And Chuck says, well, you have a giant tape measure, just hit them with it. I'm like, don't do that. That's not a thing. Okay, so the good, the game isn't as busted as we were worried it is. The bad.
I think the bad, for me, bad is a little bit of Chaos Knights.
Yeah.
I'm going to be playing them. So, like, I fully accept this to be a villain arc. We're at a villain arc in my story, probably. But I think Chaos Knights have a couple things in them that are too powerful for, not even too powerful. They we'll get into it when we talk about it, but they just go against specific patterns that are common in most lists. And if you're not preemptive about it, you will just auto lose because you can't win because of a bad like matchup of mechanics. And that's kind of a feel bad. I think there won't be an issue for top level players or even mid to high level players. It won't be that big of an issue, but there will be players who will go into it and be like, who will be very upset after playing against some of the Chaos Knights builds. Very upset.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's certainly bad.
God, I sound like a terrible human being.
You know what a good example of that is the new Tyranid detachment. Let's see if anybody took that to the tournament this weekend. Because it is wildly bonkers broken. It is so not okay, and no one, as far as I know, no one's talking about it.
Yeah, the consensus I have heard is that it is very, very powerful. It takes a lot of reps to play correctly.
Yes.
And it has a couple game plans that on occasion just don't work and they fall apart.
Mm-hmm. That sounds
but
right.
But it would say like that's probably like 10%, and then the other one, like not knowing how to play it correctly, is probably like 10%, and then the 80% of times, if you have reps with it, are probably just murdering your opponent.
Yeah. Yeah, I played it like 4 times because Alex McDougall loves it, and I play Alex a lot. So he's like one of the best Tyranid players in the world, and so it's really interesting to watch him play it. And it is bonkers hard to play against. It is so hard. Like the Zoe unit can uppy downy, and then it shoots you on 2s. I think it shoots you on 2s rerolling 1s. Like it's redonkulous. And it's like, yeah, your thing got shot by 27 last cannons. And you're like, I don't even know what's happening. So like there's a lot of bad stuff there, but the real problem with that list is that suddenly, without you expecting it, your army can get charged by like 3 or 4 giant monster Tyranids, and you cannot stop them. So
that's unfortunate.
That list has, well, because it has this tunnel mechanic that is very nuanced, and the person playing the list is going to have a ton of experience with, and you're not going to have a ton of experience with it. And that's going to be really rough based on my experience. One of the things that Alex is great at when he plays me is the way I play 40K is I tend to have a go turn. I tend to play KG and play the mission, and then I see an opportunity to close you down, and I go hard and I close you down, and then make it so that I'm going to win. And then I just play cautiously to try to get as many points I can, or try to table you on the last couple turns. Alex is really good at defeating that because he holds back and he waits for me to go too hard, and then he comes in and counterpunches me from different weird angles. This is every time I play Alex. He punishes me for going too aggressively with Eldar all the time. That list, you better be protecting yourself on turn 3 or 4, or it's going to crush you. So
Yeah.
the reason I bring that up in the bad, that list is dope and should be in the good because it's really neat and it uses models that Tyranids haven't used in a long time. But like Molochs.
Molochs are so cool.
Yeah. They're really good in that army.
They're graboids.
Yeah, so but that list is super cool, but it is a great example of a list that's going to be bad at the middle table. because it's built on it's built on a tower of jank, is what I would say.
A tower of them?
Yeah, the tower of jank. Like it doesn't have some jank. Like GW opened it up and poured jank into it until there wasn't enough room left for jank. And then they did the thing that you do with your suitcase where they put some extra in and then they pull down the lid and then they put their pressure on it to push it down and then they closed it. That's how much jank is in that army.
It's a lot of jank.
Yeah, I think so too.
That's
okay.
Cool.
Do you have any other bads? I mean, GW didn't give us any new news to talk about.
I just think that the meta was in a really great spot, and for two big reasons: one, a mass release of new codexes and detachments, and two, like we've had a lot of stuff come out rapid fire, and that's how it always is going into summer. Though we'll have a slowdown in like a month or two. It'll like pitter out for a while. We'll get a bunch of AOS for like the end of summer, beginning of fall. And then we'll get 1 or 2 codexes, and then we'll have a dead period, and we'll get another one right before January, like right in January.
Yeah.
That and the change in the missions, because the missions are very different. I've had now some time to play them. The missions play very differently.
Yeah, they're really different.
The biggest thing that the missions have changed, in my opinion, is you can bring more horsepower now and still play the mission pretty well. You don't need as much trash.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Which I think is really painful for people who were maybe doing more of the things where like they're outscoring their opponent and playing more of like an uninteractive trash game. You can't do that as much anymore because your opponent just can bring more shit to kill you and still play the game fine.
Yeah, I actually, since we're in the bad, I like the changes they made to the primary mission objectives seem all good. I don't have any problems with any of those. They seem to make it just better. I don't care that the tertiary card is gone, the hidden supplies or whatever. Completely irrelevant, don't care. I don't like the challenge cards.
I don't either.
I think they're really dumb, and here's why. And then I'm going to tell them why I think they're dumb, and then you tell me why you think they're dumb, and we'll see if it's the same reason.
Can I write? Hold on, I'm going to write it down.
No, okay. We're playing the newlywed game now. Okay, so what is the problem with the challenge cards? I shouldn't hum that. I'm going to end up getting YouTube's going to pull me down.
All right, I'm done.
Okay, all right. It is decided at the beginning of the battle round if you get a challenger card, and it has to do with whether you're 6 points behind. There are two problems with this, I now realize as I'm saying it. The problem that I was going to say is that a 6-point difference early in the game doesn't mean anything, and certainly doesn't mean who's winning. It just doesn't.
I understand. I agree.
And then the other problem is that it's a massive, ridiculous advantage for going second. Because you can just decide to be 6 points off from your opponent to get a challenger card. I'm just going to not do engage. It's worth 2 points. Don't care. I'll get a challenger card that probably gives me 3 instead. Right? So what do you put down?
So I put down because you get punished for winning. And I'm actually
that's good too.
I'm actually taking it from the other side is I haven't given a shit about I'm swearing a lot today. Sorry about that. I haven't given a poop today about
more fiber.
About challenger cards in the beginning of the game. I don't care about them. Turns 1, 2, Don't care. They're going to happen. It happens, whatever. 6-point difference is going to happen in the beginning of the game.
Uh-huh.
What I care about is that when in the end of the game, when the difference is, say, like 10 or 15 points, where we've all had games that where your opponent has been able to pull off something like 25 points on turn 4 or something, some like big scoring upset, or found like a good position to flip the game dramatically at the end. Say they're down by 10. That's when I care. And I don't care as much about the stratagem or the mission, like the extra 3 points. That's fine. Because if you're going to lose by 3 points, you were going to lose by 1 point or whatever. Like it does. Like that's. I would rather it not be a tie, right? That's fine. 3 points is like whatever. What I care about is there are some fucking stratagems in that deck that if your opponent was in a real bad spot and pulled the right one at the right time, that game is over and there is nothing you could do about it.
Yep, I agree with that as well. So we only came up with like 5 fundamental problems with the challenge cards. So they're probably okay.
Sounds like challenger cards are great on turn 3 and that's it.
I don't even like them on that turn. I think that the only time that I think they're good is when you get absolutely jacked by secondaries on the first turn of the game. Like, it is very common that my opponent can go, I got 9 or 10 on the first turn, and I'm like, oh, I get 0.
Here's what I would like. Right? This is what I think should be a thing. I think you should get on turn 3, if you are down by, say, 10 or 15 points, right? If you are significantly down, 10 or 15 points, you should get 2 challenger cards. You can only use half of each of the cards, and you can use one of them each turn, and you get to hold them till the end of the game. Mm-hmm. I think that would be fine, right? They should be transparent to your opponent. They know your opponent knows what you can do, because we play the rest of the game of 40K knowing what our opponents can do, right? Like, introducing a surprise, I don't think fundamentally is not in line with the balance strategy for the game.
Yeah, it was a big problem with the secret mission.
Oh, look, right? You can fall back and shoot all of a sudden, and I didn't know, and your army can't do that.
Right. And so I built my whole strategy around that, right? Okay, so that's a lot of bad. I don't have any ugly this week. Oh, you know what's kind of ugly? World Eaters tournament results.
Oh, are they bad?
They're not bad, but so 139 games. So 26 players took Berserker Warband, and over 139 games, they did a 53% win rate. That's fine, but that means that the codex is, at least from this data, which isn't enough data, it means the codex is meh. It's fine. It's just another codex in the meta.
I haven't. Oh, go ahead.
It's okay. But then the Khorne Demonkin detachment got a 45%, but that's because it's really hard to play, so that's okay.
I have an ugly, but I want to do no more than say just this ugly and its very thing and then move on, because I don't want, obviously this is a beautiful space, but just say is my ugly is that war sucks, and that is something that's happening, and it sucks for everybody involved, no matter what your opinion is. It sucks. That's the only. I just felt like it was unreasonable to not at least say that is an ugly thing that is occurring, but that makes this game more beautiful because it's something for us to do, focus on the community and goodness of our goodnesses, than some of the terrible shit that's going on. So that's my ugly.
I'll add an ugly to that. It is a really scary time for a whole bunch of people in the country. Regardless of what you think politically, you probably can agree with that. Be extra nice to people. Be extra inclusive. You have especially if you are of the majority, you probably have no idea how scary it is for several of the minorities right now. So, okay, that's all we're going to say about that.
PSA brought to you by 2 white guys.
Yeah, right? I don't understand this at all, but I know it's bad. Okay, so that's the ugly. Okay. I am going to give an update now on Colin.
Ooh.
This is a significant update. So I don't want to spend all of the time on this. So I'm structuring. I'm compiling. Defragging. Okay, here we go. I got married. I met my wife, Stephanie, in 2016 and fell in love with her very quickly and fell in love with her kids even more. We moved in together 6 months after we met. and I became full-time stepdad. There was a whole plan about the kids having other places they were staying so that Stephanie and I would have time to build a marriage, because I appreciate that kids make that hard. We weren't able to make that happen, and so we ended up full-time parents for the past 10 years, almost 10 years. I wasn't ready for that as a person. I think lots of people have kids that aren't ready for that. I did not understand how crazy my brain is and the level of wrestling I was going to have to do with it over the decade after I met the children. But I've enjoyed it, and I've loved it, and it's been great. While that's been going on and been challenging and been a lot of learning and hard things, I continued to sell software, which I'd done since I was 23 years old, and I'm 45 now. I stopped enjoying it as much, and I started getting really burned out. And I was part of a tech layoff. And then I found another job that wasn't really right for me, and so I didn't stay. We did a contract and I moved on. And then I went to another place that wasn't a fantastic fit. I tried pretty hard. I tried really hard, then I tried pretty hard, then I tried not hard enough, then I left, right? So I feel burned out on my career. And I've been spending a lot of time over the last year thinking about how generally unhappy I am in my life. We're going on about 3 years of financial devastation from the layoffs that I've taken and the fact that my wife was trying to start a business that the economy destroyed. So the last many years, 3 years or so, have been awful. I've been unhappy most of the time, and I've been trying to be positive, happy, calling through it. It's a big part of why I left 40K and stopped making content. A couple months ago, I had a fight with Stephanie where I realized that I don't want to sell software anymore. I might want to in a year. I might want to in two or 5 years, but right now I need a break. And I needed to fix my life, and I couldn't do that well having a 50, 60 hour a week job that leaves me 40K brain dead at the end, like Noah described. So a couple months ago, 6 weeks ago, no, more like 2 months ago, I decided that I was going to slow down looking for work. No, three or 4 months ago, I decided I was going to slow down looking for work, and I was going to hustle and do side gigs to make some money while we sell the house. I overbought my house at the beginning of 2020. I bought way more than we need. Other than running Charity Hammer, we don't need all of this. So we're selling it, and we're in massive debt. That's going to allow me to restructure our debt and get to a point where I can make significantly less money and be okay. I'm going to move to a less expensive place. I've cut down our car expenses. I'm cutting down our debt. I'm building a structure where I, for the first time in many, many years, cannot stress about money every day of my life. I'm also I've been trying to figure out what it is that I want to do for a living. And my entire life, I've liked entertaining more than anything else. So I thought a lot about that. I was a music performance major at a time. I was one of the first people to make board game videos that were on ThinkGeek. I was one of the first people to do a successful competitive 40K podcast. I like performing. I like being entertaining. I like being informative. So I thought a lot about it, and I decided that the correct place for me to put that creativity and that desire to perform is 40K content. So I said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do 40K content, 30 hours a week. I'm going to restructure and rebuild, sell the house, do all the stuff, get myself healthy, all that stuff with the rest of the time. And I'm just going to push through this incredibly difficult segment of my life. Wow. That's too much to try to do at the same time. So I've been making 40K content with the idea that I'll try it for a while, 6 months, 9 months, and I'll see what comes of it. My general idea was, I don't know if this is going to work, but I'm open to whatever that content looks like. If that content is other people doing the show and I'm producing it and creating it, fine. If that show is Colin talking by himself for 6 hours a day, I'll do it. I don't think anybody wants that, but I'll do it. I'm literally excited to see what the 40K community wants. And so I'm trying a bunch of different stuff. I'm about to release a game show. I've done a bunch of the lore show. We're doing this show. We're going to try different things until we have a groundswell of support, which I know will come because I've done this before. So that's been my idea. I'm going to build Best in Tabletop up. And then after I move and the financial stress isn't as bad, I'm going to be able to focus full time on it for a while and see what happens from that. And if it doesn't work out, I'll go back to the corporate world and I'll say in my interviews, hey, I wanted to go try my own gig, didn't work out. I'm back to the thing I've loved my entire life. So that's the plan. The part I haven't told anybody about is that my wife and I are getting divorced. This is the first time I've talked about that publicly. We've only really talked to our family and our children so far. I'm talking about it here because this is a safe space and I want to be a little vulnerable with you guys. It is the right decision. I am understandably sad because we built a life with traditions and hobbies and dogs and all the stuff, right? But the reality is that the people that met in 2016 were both broken and didn't know it. And this is Colton, Stephanie, and I, and we needed each other to fix ourselves. The problem is that our mental health isn't compatible. Our hobbies aren't really compatible. We have some fundamental building blocks that aren't lined up, and we looked at doing the work to fix it, and we realized that we'll both be better humans on our own. Better parents, better humans, more successful. I am only going to have Gus with me. The kids will come and visit me, but I'm not going to be where the kids live. So I'm going to go from a house where there is so much going on that that's what I was going to say. I can't focus on literally anything. Yesterday, I spent 3 hours with a fireplace fixer guy because some of the fireplaces weren't working. Like, there is just so much going on. My kid was in a massive car accident. He's fine, but like my truck was totaled. We're down a vehicle. Like, there's just so much going on top of selling the house. My dogs have fleas for the first time in the 10 years we've had dogs. Why? Where did these come from? We never had fleas before. This is obnoxious. I have bites all over me. What are we doing? So things are just on tilt. The house is breaking like every day. It knows we're leaving and it's really upset about it. So things are very challenging. And what I realized last week is that I'm not going to succeed on 40K content at this exact moment because it doesn't get all my attention right now. So I'm going to acknowledge that, and I'm going to put myself from fifth gear down to second gear. I'm going to keep doing stuff. I'm going to keep doing shorts. I'm going to keep doing the show, but I'm going to go easy on myself until we move, and try to make sure that when I move, our health insurance debt and all of our stuff is structured and good, because then for the first time in my memory, I will wake up in the morning with a goal of what I want to do and not a crushing amount of stress that I've built for myself with a decade of bad decisions, of overspending and not focusing enough on the things that are important, and really being pleased with how I've been a parent and a husband, but also not happy with it at all as well. So this is what's happening. I'm going to be alone. So alone. Lonely. I'm going to be alone. It's going to be great. I'm going to have a chance on my own. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the money from the house and I'm going to figure out a run rate, and I'm going to pick a number of months where I'm going to make 40K content full time, and I'm going to see what happens. And if at the end of that timeline it doesn't happen, I'm going to go do something else. That's where I'm at. I need a career that I am thrilled to get up every morning and do. When you guys come to me and you say, I loved this joke, or I loved this segment, or when people used to come up to me in tournaments and hug me because I talk so openly about anxiety and tournament play, that stuff is my battery charging. Like, it's not about you saying that I'm awesome. It's about me bringing you happiness in your day. I love it. I love when somebody says I couldn't stop laughing. Great. That's the goal, right? So I'm glad that I got a chance to share it. It only took 7 minutes, which is not the end of the world. But it is a extremely challenging time for me. And I'm just going to be really TLC heavy to myself. I spent a ton of time playing video games yesterday rather than being productive. That's not okay, except that it is, right? Like, sometimes, as Noah knows from the last bit of time he has, sometimes you have to stop and say, what will make me feel better for the next 2 hours?
Yep.
Or
It's often
I'm done with today. It's 4 in the afternoon. I'm going to feed the kids. Other than that, I'm playing video games till 9 o'clock tonight, right? Like there is mental, like you have to be kind to yourself as well. But I have some pretty serious work to do over the next, we're about to get we're negotiating an offer on the house that I think is going to be fine. And so we're going to be on a 30-day clock to get out of here. And that's going to be really interesting. Things such as when you're in debt for a long time, it ruins your credit. And then you go to try to rent somewhere, but you don't have credit. So like there's a lot of things that have to happen that are complicated. So that's what's going on with Colin. The underlying of this is I'm excited to have a chance to grow on my own again. I'm excited for Stephanie. I'm very excited for Stephanie because this is going to be a great opportunity for her to have some financial structure under her where she gets to make her own decision about what she wants to do, and it has nothing to do with me. So I think she's gonna thrive not being married to me. I literally think that we're like the best friends. We have so much fun together, but everything else is not there in the marriage. So like we both know. Anyways, I don't need to talk anymore about that. And I'm really excited about the chance. And I don't even think it's a 50% chance. The chance that a year from now, I'm full-time making entertainment content. The idea that I got to wake up in the morning and be creative with my day and share happiness, and in this case, sadness and frustration with people and connect with them is like magic for me. I love it so much. So that's what's going to happen. It would be smart for me to play my commercial right now. So you could say, oh, I want to help Colin doing that. But that seems really cheap and bad. So I'm not going to do that. But if you'd like to help me along this journey, there's plenty of ways to do it. Like and subscribe. And then, of course, there's our Patreon. But that's what's going on. Okay. That's my update.
we love you, Colin.
I know. Well, lots of people do. There's a bunch of people that absolutely do not. And that's okay, too.
I'm rooting for Colin to get an apartment or a home of some kind, living quarters that allows for Gus, that is within close distance of Aegis, so that Colin can be alone when Colin needs to, and then Colin can go a very short distance and be not alone. And also, Aegis is a dog-friendly game store, so.
Yeah, I wish Gus was anywhere near well behaved enough for that. But thanks, beginner dude. That's really nice. Goose is actually right behind me right now. Oh my god. He just woke up from a dream and was positioned weird on his bed and fell over. I wish that he'd been on camera for that. He Scooby-Dooed so hard there. So Gus is 130 pounds, and it turns out if you have a 130-pound dog, the number of rental places you can look at goes from 100% to 17% about. So I will be living in a house. No, I can tell you this. And it will be wherever Stephanie lives. I get to work remotely, even if I go back to the sales world. I'll be traveling, but I'll get to work remotely. My biggest concern is because I'm stepdad, I fall out of the kids' lives. That's like my biggest, that's like more concerning than how I'm going to make money or how Stephanie's going to make money. Kids need love that they know will never go away. And the whole time I've known these kids, I've told them that I'm never going to go away and I'm always going to love them because the previous guys are not here, right? So it's really important to me that I do that, and also that I'm near my dogs that I don't get to live with anymore. So Stephanie's got to find a job. We are either going to run in parallel or close down her store. And so she's finding a job, and it's going to have to do with where that job is, and then Stephanie will live somewhere near there, and then I will live somewhere near Stephanie, so that I can go and do stuff, pick up the kids and take them places, and like be a stepdad, right, Noah? Like, how weird would it be if you wanted to keep being the dad you are right now and you were living in a different house?
I would drive a long way.
Yeah, right. You spend a lot of time in the car, which I'm prepared for. Because when I moved in with these kids, I made a promise to everyone. I made it to my family. I made it to Stephanie. Everybody, that if Stephanie and I didn't work out, it does nothing to do with the children, and I am still stepdad.
Good job.
Yep. I'm not the best stepdad. I'm a wildly broken one, but I'm hoping that I will. But I'm hoping that I will be able to be a more present and I'm hoping that I'll be able to be the stepdad I'm capable of being, with some more space for my mental health to grow, which is what we're doing.
I hope so too.
Okay, so Moving on with the news of 40K. More like tournament report. So Noah got to take Chaos Knights to an RTT. Noah's RTT at Noah's store, but we're not going to worry about that too much right now.
To make everyone feel better, understand I do not take any prizing. I just play, and then I recuse myself, and then we do the scoring that way.
Okay, that's fair.
But I don't. We for a while we did a thing of me being the ringer and just playing against someone if they had a bye. That turned out it wasn't that fun for the person with the bye. So we don't.
It's hilarious that you thought that was a good idea.
I mean, there's a whole thing that went into it, but so I took Chaos Knights, and I took a 5 big knights list in Lords of Dread. Now, when I say 5 big knights, then initially everyone is going to think meme list. That's how you feel about it. That's traditionally, that is true. And I'm going to tell you this detachment rule, and you're going to think, meh, right? We all know the spoiler that it turned out as fuck. But if you didn't know the spoiler, you would think meh, right? The detachment rule is +2 OC to your big knights. No little knights get a benefit. And once per battle round, you can use the sticky and objective stratagem for free as long as your warlord is on the table. Okay, that's it. You can use it at the beginning of any phase. That's the only detachment rules. The enhancements is what's cool is they have 6 good enhancements, 6 good ones. Like there are 6 of them, and they are all good and they are all usable. There's like 5 that are fantastic and 1 that's fine. Right? We have one that like lets you uppy downy a knight. We have one that lets you give a knight a 2-up armor and regen d6 wounds once per game. One that gives you stealth and blank a save. One that gives you fights first and assault. Like, amazing. So, and then the stratagem suite is like the sticky objective strat, a walk over you and do a grenade strat, this is the big one, -1 damage for 2 CP in shooting or fight phase strat. That's the very important stratagem. A reroll 1s to hit and wound, or reroll all hits and wounds against monster vehicle, or reroll all against Titanic. A blow up on a 4+ strat, which I used a few times, which was pretty great. Alex House told me that's a very Noah thing to do, is to like that strat, which I accept that fully. And then an extra 3-inch consolidate strat. So the stratagem suite is fine. There's nothing like that's like super crazy there that seems like amazing. But I tell you what, when you put this together, I'm going to tell you how my games went real quick, very in short form, and it's not great. So I played against EC, and EC doesn't have a lot of anti-vehicle tools already. They are considered one of the best. Listen, they were playing John Lennon's list, right? The one with the Mauler Fiends. That game was 100-39 against a mid-level player who plays at a bunch of events, does pretty well, good, right? Playing one of the best armies in the game, and I just like stomped a mud hole in it, and I wasn't necessarily trying to do that. Like it was just. And the biggest reason is, and this is a recurring theme across all 3 games. Here's the problem, Colin. When you sticky an objective with that stratagem, it stickies it at 5 OC.
Okay, that's a lot.
And it doesn't flip unless you have more OC than 5.
Yeah, so you have to have 6, which is a lot.
Which is if you're playing most of the current, like most of the things play lots of 5-man units who are OC1. Do you know how hilarious it is when you are almost tabled as a big knight player and your opponent still has models left and can't score primary because they can't flip any of the objectives because every objective on the table is stickied?
Yep, and like an Eldar unit of 5 aspect warriors get there and they're like, crap, we can't take this.
Yeah, or in my last game, a Chimera tries to drive onto an objective and it doesn't work. So in that game against EC, I had a couple times where like I blew up a knight on a 4+, and Cerastus knights do d6 plus 2 mortal wounds to everything in 6 inches. So that's amazing. I had a Lancer stay in 3 protracted combats with multiple demon princes, Lucius, and other units, and he killed everybody just about to the point where he blew up and then killed everybody anyway. I was playing Lancer, Atropos, Rampager who can advance and charge with an enhancement, a double Gatling cannon to spoiler, and Valiant. The Valiant has uppy downy, and the Atropos has fights first and assault. And the double Gatling cannon to spoiler, like towering, touched the thing and then killed 2 full units of Noise Marines by splitting what shooting, and just killed 2 full units of Noise Marines. It was not okay. So that was round 1. Round 2, I went into Grey Knights, played by Tommy. It's pretty dirty. It's got its hard counters, but it's pretty abusive. I played against Tommy. Now this is where it like really shines for me that why it's bad. What do most melee, like what is the attack profile of most melee weapons, Colin? Like most good melee army melee weapons right now?
Strength 4?
Well, strength 4 to 6 and AP
1 or 2.
Okay, and damage
1 or 2.
Right. You know what that's terrible against? -1 damage giant knights.
Yeah.
There was a moment, so I played against Grey Knights, and there was a moment where I had a Lancer, and it was the mission where the objective splits into 2 objectives in the middle, so you have 4 down the middle.
I actually really like that one, even though it often is silly for primary.
I had a Lancer surfboarding 2 objectives.
Nice.
Okay. And he had 3 or 4 Grey Knights units in combat with him. And he had both objectives were stickied.
Ugh.
So, and which meant even if the knight died at this point, like after 2 of them activated and didn't do anything, even if the knight died, he wouldn't flip either secondary. I still pick up 15 on primary. And he tanked all 3 or 4 units of Grey Knights and then picked up a unit of them, then fell back, and then the Gatling cannon, the spoiler, came up and killed everybody else but one guy. And then the Lancer later on killed that one guy on a turn where I had assassinate and no prisoners.
Nice.
So that Grey Knights could do some stuff, like Drago helped, and there was definitely he definitely killed a bunch of things, but like just not enough fast enough. And the sticky 5 meant that all his 5-man MSU units couldn't do anything, and so the only thing that could flip objectives in his whole army as a single unit were Terminators with the banner that gave them plus OC. They were the only thing in his whole army that could flip objectives by themselves. That was bad.
That would be interesting for us to play a game, Noah, because I've been playing 10-mans in Eldar.
That's good. You should do that.
And I don't, and like people don't. So, Eldar players out there, 10 Howling Banshees and an Autarch is one of the best things in the whole codex, and like no one plays it. Moving on. Go ahead, Noah. Keep talking about Chaos Knights.
And then in the last round, I played against Imperial Knights. So Imperial Knights are also really good right now because of point drops. Chaos Knights, all of 5 of their detachments are playable. I think 4 of them are really, really good. You're going to see a lot of Knights going into the Tacoma Open. Spoiler, I believe we're going to see a ton of Knights. And so it's important to be good in the mirror. This list is great in the mirror because it has a stratagem for 1 CP that lets it reroll all hits and all wounds against Titanic models.
Uh-huh.
And at one point, I dropped. He was playing 3 big knights and some trash little knights. I was playing 5 big knights and some Nurglemons. I baited his Atropos to come kill, or his Lancer to come kill my Atropos, which opened a hole. I up down my Valiant into that hole, and he one-pieced Canis into dust. Then I had 2 knights jump on the Atropos after he killed my jump on the Lancer after he killed my Atropos, killed his Lancer, and then I also picked up 2 little knights that turn. And so the game was over. And at some point, once I killed everything but the Castellan, everything on the table was sticky. He couldn't flip objectives with his little remaining trash, and the game just was a very uncomfortable, unhappy slog for him for the last 2 rounds. He came away thinking that, like, he's like, hey, no, it was a great game. It's always wonderful to play against you, but the list you're playing is bullshit. And I don't disagree. And I'm not saying it's like so busted that it would beat everything, right? But what I'm saying is that it creates some negative play experiences. And some of the other detachments do too. They created Chaos Knights in a way that they're really good. They're not I don't think they're so busted. They're like they're not like so busted that they're. I actually don't even think they're as good as Death Guard in general, but I think they create play experiences that are much worse than the Death Guard play experiences for your opponent.
So how many big knights did you have?
I ran 5.
And were there little knights as well?
No, one squad of Plague Bearers, one squad of Nurglings.
Okay, all right.
I ran a Tyrant chassis, so like the big boy, like the wide boy. And then I ran 2 Cerastus chassis, so the very tall boy. Then 1 Questoris chassis, which was the Rampager.
I don't know when we decided that 5 big knights is the appropriate amount for 2,000 points, but okay.
I think the list that if I go to Tacoma, the list I'm probably playing is something like 4 big knights and 4 little knights. Because I think that's actually even worse. I think that's even more terrible.
It is. Yep. I'd much rather play against the 5 big knights. Okay.
So that's my thing.
All
I think
right. Okay. Do I have any questions?
This is Colin's nightmare meta.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm gonna play 30 fire dragons and wave serpents and laugh at people.
You can do the thing that I do because obviously, like you beat me the crap out of me a lot, but you can do the thing I do when I go against like a GSC player. Go, oh, you're not Tyler Portel or McDougal. We're fine.
Yeah, it's interesting for sure. I don't like armies that I just can't kill, and so I lose. That's frustrating. But I don't think 5 big knights isn't that. Because with an old army, you can kill 2 of them and then play the mission around the other 3. But not if they're sticky and everything and you need 6 OC everywhere. That's gross. So, okay. No, Guy, no. Damn it, Guy, this is why we can't have nice things.
All right.
If you want to see beautifully painted knights, go to narrative where they belong.
So Tacoma, we have like 8 minutes, right?
We have 8. Oh, because you're stopping at 8:15 now.
Oh yeah. I thought we discussed that.
Sorry. Okay, that's fine. At 8:15, I'll talk about Eldar. Go ahead.
Cool. Let's talk about Tacoma. Obviously, we think knights are going to be, but I think the thing about it is that Chaos Knights and Imperial Knights, new points and everything are legal now, and they've already been legal for a week, and they're going to be legal, obviously, up until Tacoma Open. So that's another 3 weeks of tournament results going forward, which means that is a month is enough time for the meta to adjust. Right?
Yeah,
we're gonna have a relatively stable meta by Tacoma Open. They announced Space Wolves on Sunday, so Space Wolves will get not this Saturday, but the following Saturday we'll get the full release, which is 1 Saturday, I think, before Tacoma Open. 1 or 2. Which means that won't be time for another book to come out probably before Tacoma Open. So we know, and the Space Wolves have already been played in some larger tournaments with the FOMO box. So we have a very clear picture now of what is going to be in the meta for Tacoma Open. So knowing that, Colin, give me your picks, your top 3 for what are the 3 best armies in the meta. And then I want to know what your Kingmaker list that's not going to be top, but is going to be the thing you have to beat to be able to be the top.
Man, this is really the sort of thing you tell your host the day before so that they can come with a really well thought out answer.
No, I want Colin's raw, unmitigated hot take.
Okay. Chuck played T-Suns into Tau twice this weekend and said that it was a miserable experience that will require practice and list editing. So based on that small amount of data, I'm going to presume that T-Suns is got a counter out there. I think that, so for me, the Chaos Codexes are all not okay compared to the rest of the game. And I would say that one of the Chaos Codexes is going to win. And if you look at what's been happening, Tau won a tournament this weekend. But in general, it's chaos. It's Death Guard. It's Emperor's. It's John winning Edmonton with Emperor's children when no one expected it to. No one expected that. So I think top 8. Let's do it that way. Here's what I think the top 8 looks like. I think that there's multiple Death Guard in the top 8. I think there is at least 1, if not 2, Chaos Knight players in there. I'm going to say it differently. 2 to 3 Knight players. because for the purposes of a meta, I don't personally think, I've never thought that preparing for Chaos Knights and preparing for Imperial Knights is significantly different. The only thing that was different before was the amount of indirect the War Dogs brought, was the thing that you had to deal with if you were playing Eldar. So Knights, 2 or 3 lists. Death Guard, we'll say 2. So now we've got like 3 or 4 left. There's always random stuff in there, so we got to leave room for that. There's always the guy who came and he's like, I brought what's something funny? No, that's not that funny. What's funny? What's like what's that, Drukhari? Yeah.
There's Skari exists, right? Skari does exist.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be at it, but the point is there will be random stuff in there as well. But I think that Death Guard and Chaos Knights have the advantage of being able to roll over a better opponent simply because things go well early in the game. So I don't know about Chaos Knights, but making an assumption based on the things that Noah said, but playing against Death Guard and T-Suns, it's very clear that if, like, with Eldar, I can say I have to do strategy 37 against this T-Suns list. This has to happen, and then this has to happen, and then this has to happen. And in a normal game of 40K, one of those things or 2 of the things don't happen, and you play around it, right, Noah? Like, you figure it out anyways. The problem with these meta monsters is that, at least for me, with armies I'm playing, I feel like I'm clenched up on the edge of my seat on the early rounds, because if I make a mistake, the game's over. And I think that that's the real problem that the Death Guard style things bring to the meta, where it's, yeah, better players, the good players can beat you, but if they also have to be relatively average luck or lucky, oh, that's gross. So that's what I think. What do you think?
I generally agree that I think Chaos codexes are gonna be running wild. It looks like Skari apparently is, according to some rumors, is going to be at Tacoma. So then
awesome.
Drukhari is in somewhere between 8th and 1st place. That's, yes. We'll call that.
He might go into the second bracket. He might.
I think Skari can top 8 sometimes when he sleeps. I like that guy. And he's also such a really nice human.
He's one of the nicest humans ever. I mean, he is Canadian.
Yeah. The one that I think that no one is prepared for, that is going to literally trash everybody. I would not be surprised if it takes first, and one of our friends is taking it. Or at least I think he is. I hope he is. Actually, I don't know if that's what he's taking, but I hope he is. If you're listening to me, Chuck, I hope you're taking Votann. Because I think, one, that there are some nearly unwinnable missions with Votann into Knights. So, like, Votann has probably like a very easy game into most Knights players, because they get to just be +1 to hit and wound against 4 of them from the beginning of the game, right? And then they also have Grav. So sweet. They just murder them like nothing. It's great. Yeah. The next thing is, I think Knights players for the Knights codexes for the most part are going to be a gate. We might get 1 or 2 in the top 8, but I think they're going to be more of a gate than like a high performer.
Okay.
Because I think we'll have
3. 1 and 2 and 2 and 3 aren't significantly different from each other. But
I honestly think we're going to have 1. I think we're going to have 1 Knights player in the top 8, and everyone else will end up being a gate that someone has to pass through to get there.
Okay.
I think we'll see a representation of all 4 Chaos Gods. I think all 4 codexes will probably make top 8. I would not be surprised. And then kind of leftovers is I think Tau is probably in there. And
yeah, we'll have Tau. I forgot Tau. They seem to be incredibly powerful after their rule change.
And we'll have a Space Marine player, right? Like we just always do. And then I think that leaves 1 leftover spot.
Okay. Which
is Skari's spot, I think. So
that's the spot Skari goes into.
I think it's the Summer of Power Armor. I think the thing that we have seen historically, though, is Knights are incredibly good at killing power armor. Anytime I play Knights and I go up against a power armor army, no matter how good that army is, I am usually feeling like I'm favored because they're just really good at killing power armor. Mm-hmm. They're just really, really good at it. Like maybe the best. And then
so is Votann. That's another argument for why Votann's so good right now. Is Votann's really good at killing power armor.
Yeah, and then Votann also has the ability to play mission because they don't need to take like they were already good at playing the mission, and their list didn't have to change, but now they're better at playing the mission because they could do it with less.
Mm-hmm.
And then they also got some cool upgraded like tech situations with the wizards, how they can attach to units. So they can have multiple of the wizard gun, and the wizard gun is really good. I just think they're really, really good, and they're going to be very well placed in the meta. And most people haven't played against a lot of Votann, and if you're a person who is a good player and you haven't played against Votann, you go into Tacoma Open and you're like getting ready to go to the top 8, you play against Votann, you're going to get punched. That's my thought.
Yeah, that sounds right to me. With T-Suns being really good, I doubt Chuck's playing Votann. I understand the Chuck flowchart of army playing, and Tzeentch's stuff is very, very, very high on the list.
If I had the reps, I would play Votann. I have a Votann army. It's not copied.
He did. Chuck painted that cell shaded Votann army that's so cool, and then he put it aside and he rebuilt the whole army as Chaos Dwarves. And he did a lot of hobby on Chaos Dwarves this week, so maybe I'm wrong. Okay.
That's it. But
Noah's got to go. Bye, Noah. Enjoy your new job.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Hi, guys. I thought I would give you guys a little bit of an Eldar update because I've been grinding on them. I stopped playing the World Eater stuff. I don't like the Khorne Berserker list. It's not interesting enough. The transport list isn't powerful enough. The Demonkin list is reliant upon a stratagem that makes people feel terrible. So that's not where I'm at. So I played a bunch of Seer Council. I thought it was neat. I looked at Warhost for Eldar and realized, in my opinion, Warhost is just better than Seer Council as a detachment goes. So I've been playing Warhost. I played into the new Tyranid detachment, and I played it into Necrons, and I played it into something else. Death Guard. I played it into Death Guard. And it's good. It's good. It's much better than I thought it was going to be. The reactive jank, even without Ynnari, is pretty strong. I wasn't expecting it to be as good as it is. I play very close combat heavy, so stuff like if you fall back for me, my Banshee unit might go 8 because of how Warhost works. And I had a game against somebody where they fell back from my Banshees. The Banshees went 8, and then when he shot them, they moved again because I think that's right. Yeah, different phase. So yeah, that is very powerful on a 10-man Banshee unit with an Autarch. So there's a lot of that's like my favorite unit in the army, and I never see it in other people's lists. It hits really hard. It does, and it has a Blade of Wounds on 4-up invuls in combat. It stays around for a long time. It can hit a lot of things. The strength 4, 2 attacks, anti-infantry is a great profile on 2s. I've played that army, that list in like every army, or that unit in every army. So I'm playing 20 Banshees, 10-5-5. 10-10-5 also makes sense. Banshees are faster than the meta at the moment, especially coming out of Wave Serpents. So I'm playing Wave Serpents, Fire Dragons, Dark Reapers, and Close Combat. And Fire Dragons is basically the army. And Warp Spiders, I guess. No Wind Riders, no vehicles other than Wave Serpents. I really enjoy the Guardian unit that has 4 Warlocks and a Farseer with it. It's expensive, but when it uppy downies, it's just so powerful. So I've been playing with that. So yeah, it's been really interesting, but I do feel like you're on a tightrope in some of these matchups. I think that I played Stu, one of the better players in Canada. He played Death Guard, I played Warhost. I think that if I had I'm going to play him again, and I think the game will be really good. But I certainly made mistakes early in the game that I felt like I couldn't come back from. So I have to work on that. Warhost is very high skill floor. How you use the Wave Serpents is a really big deal. So there's been a lot of learning there. I've done some stupid stuff. I've done some smart stuff. I think that if the Tacoma Open was this weekend and I was going, I would take Warhost. That's what I would take. Like I said, Seer Council is really fun and neat, but the reality of the situation is that Warhost is better. Seer Council has better uppy downy. I'll give you that. Lone Op in Seer Council is really, really good. I'll give you that as well. The requirement of having psychers near your units to use your stratagems is awful. And good players are going to go through and they're going to shred your psychers, and then you're going to fall apart. That's my opinion. Guardian unit with 4 Warlocks and a Farseer band name. I'd like a name for that unit. I would. So, okay, we have a few minutes left. Here's a spoiler. Here's something that only we're going to talk about right now. Just you and the hundreds to 1,000 people that are going to listen and watch this. I hate the name Best in Tabletop. I don't like it at all. I was on the fence when we first came up with it. The idea was that it plays off of Best in Faction and it will get name recognition without losing the popularity we gained with the name Best in Faction. People don't know that name now, and Best in Tabletop makes me think that people think that I think I'm the best in tabletop, or that my network is the best in tabletop. And the idea was all of us being our best in tabletop. I don't think that comes across. I don't think it's the message I want to give. And since I'm going to relaunch, and the real serious full-time relaunching is going to happen after I move, I think I'd like to relaunch with a different name. I understand that will set me back some, but I think that the name is not good for what I want to do. I think that I want to be the quirky. I think I want to be the quirky, interesting, funny people. I don't think I want to try to be the best at anything. Maybe the best at being funny. I don't know. I just don't really want to be the best at anything. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to have a contest. I'm going to give people 2 weeks to submit names for the network. I'm going to post and share a mission statement for the network. So if you want to connect the name, you can, but you can also just have it be silly. I'm not going to pick randomly. That'd be stupid. I'll pick the one that I like the best and I think makes the most sense. If you're the winner, we're going to include your name in the credits as a thank you. And I'm trying to get some prize support. So from one of our sponsors. So I think that's really great. I think that's going to be a really fun contest. I have some ideas of what I would name it, but I'm not going to tell you what they are. I'm going to let you guys come up with what you'd like. But the network's literally going to be for dedicated, probably 6 months at least, starting now, probably more than that. I'm going to wake up every morning and either work on the shows I'm making or stop them and work on different shows. I am going to find what the 40K community likes, and I know that I can. That's a thing that I am perfectly adept to do, is to go find the thing that's missing in the content meta. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm very excited about that challenge. If you want to come along with me on that journey, I'd love to have you. We have a Patreon you can join. You can just like and subscribe. Even that's helpful. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to leave you with our trailer about the network, and I'm going to say that I appreciate you guys for watching and for listening to me as I shared my really difficult and exciting situation that I'm going through. I'll update more on that in the future. If you've been through a similar situation, I feel for you. But for now, I'm calling because somebody has to be. He used to be Noah, but now he's not here. And this was Competitive Advantage. Hi, I really hope you're enjoying our content. For 20 years, I pushed through an exciting career in enterprise software sales. While I had quite a bit of success and fun, I watched as my interest and drive slowly fell away. Since I was 8 years old, I've wanted to entertain. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep creating and tweaking 40K web shows until I land on the combination that the community just can't get enough of. It's an exciting journey, and I'm sincerely having the best time. But I can't do it alone. Would you like to help make my journey easier? Well, there's several ways to do that. First of all, I know that you're told all day long to like and subscribe. That's because it really does help. Please do the thing. Next, you can sign up for our Patreon. We have several levels that might work for you. First, just simple Discord access. For nearly a decade, we've run one of the most positive and helpful spaces in all of 40K. Come find out for yourself. That tier also gets our help finding TTS opponents and can join in on our 2 or more private stream games every week that we do only for our patrons. Up a tier, you'll get all our past recordings of our private stream games. You'll have access to the memes, graphics, and presentations we use on our shows. We have a fantasy football league. We have other leagues. We have a weekly TTS drawing to pair you up with your favorite content producer for a game. And you know what else? If you're all in on this journey and you want to do whatever you can, there's a tier for that as well. Thank you and enjoy the show. Oh, it didn't end it. Bye, everybody.